All right, welcome back to our next video in the 3D Racer tutorial series. Guys, I've had to re-record this video like 4 or 5 times because as I was working on it, I just kept on finding different things I wanted to do, different ways to try to get these scripts to work. And I haven't even decided what all this video is going to be because I want to work on cleaning up some more parts of the game, which will set us up for more success as we start trying to build out ways to put other levels into the game and then adding textures and all that. So I'll just see how I'm feeling as we move along and where we stop. This might be a long video, it might be short, just depends on what I can get out of it. So let's do some cleaning up. In my console, something I was noticing when I press play, make sure this still works the way it was, I respawned my trees. Yeah. Was I'm getting a couple errors here that I just really want to clear out. I don't want all these here. Also, I have a multiple listeners error that I don't see happening right now, but I had to do it beforehand. So currently on our main camera, which is a child of the car underneath camera follow, we have main camera, far cam, and first person cam. All of these have audio listeners, and we only want one listener in the scene. And typically that would be on your main camera, but the problem is that whenever we switch between our game view modes, if I have the audio listeners off on the other two, you're going to notice that we have no sound because we are deactivating that camera. So when the game starts, I'll press V to switch my view modes. So we only want one audio listener, but we don't want it on our cameras here. So instead, I'm just going to remove all my audio listeners off all the cameras and off my main camera. And typically, you would love to have it on your main camera, but for this game, our player is going to be in the game the entire time. So I would like to add to it the audio listener component. So that way we have the audio anytime we have the game going. You also see I'm having an attempt to pitch to infinite value on script ignored. So on our car audio script, the one that's being used by on our player here, it's trying to, on lines, what is it, 96? Did I do that in this script here? Oh, right here, 124. Adjust the pitch based on the multipliers. I just commented it out. So at the beginning of this line, I went /* here, and that comments out everything out below it. And at the end of this line, I went * / to include everything else back, and saved it. And that prevents that it's trying to do multiple pitches, like a 4-channel pitch thing, and I was doing this late into the night, and I don't know if I tested to make sure the audio still plays through the way we want it to. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm still getting audio, but it's not. I'm not getting all those same errors. What is this debug here? Car Tracker 01. Oh, I put in a debug here helping a student. Okay, get rid of that debug. I don't need that right now. We'll talk about this script in a second. Then another thing is we're having a null reference exception on our enemy car because it has this thing on it. I'm going to save what I've done. Command S. EnemyCar01 has car AI control. And that's that one. Is that it? And there is a waypoint progress tracker script. So this is looking for a circuit, basically a collection of all these points to move through, and we're not doing that style of things. So I'm going to open up that waypoint tracker script, and I think it's line 96. Yeah, so target dot position, and it's trying to get these routes. So I commented out, I took out lines 96 onto 113, so the end of this line. Save that, and then I went further down to 141. Right. Yeah, this drawing gizmos. I'm not really sure. It's supposed to be drawing these out while this is going on, but I don't want any of this. It's okay. I saved that, and that should take care of all the errors we were getting down here in the console. And it doesn't break anything because we're just not using these aspects of the game. Just press play. And those errors are all gone. Perfect. So I think video 5, we were working on a waypoint system, and I was kind of doing it the way that I've done in smaller games before, where I would randomly have an enemy choose a waypoint out of 3 or 4 of them. So the system I was using worked fairly well, of just having those points and putting them in individually. It was noted that probably a better way to have done this, and I wasn't really paying attention to as I was working, was an array. So let's go change that script. I know that might be a little frustrating for you guys, but it should be pretty straightforward. So I believe, was it on our enemy car? It's on tracker, that's what it was. I'm going to go into that script. And an alternative means of doing this is just to hold all of these waypoints here as an array. So I'll do a public game object, and then make it an array, and we will call it waypoints. So this will hold all our different waypoints, and then we're also going to build a private game object called current waypoint, so we can keep track of what our current waypoint is. So I can just delete most of this shell, this long list of things here. Casing. Keep it in our update. We're going to say current waypoint is going to be set equal to waypoint. And then we need to specify which one inside of the array. So waypoint tracker, semicolon, our tracker object dot transform dot position needs to be set to our current waypoint dot transform dot position, so that it always moves our tracker object up where it needs to be. And then we have our IEnumerator. So if collision.gameObject.tag equals car01 is turning on this tracker, we're adding one to this. Except here, if we're going to change this to our waypoints.length, so the total length of our list, in case we decide to add more points into it, and then it sets it. Waiting 1 second, and then it's enabling that collider. So we have to go back once you save this. It's going to reset all these. And right now waypoints are 0 here, but I can go and grab my first one. Oh, you know, I need to lock that in though. I locked my inspector. Go to my first one, my last one, and drag this into waypoints, and it should take them all. Command S and press play. Let's test this out. One thing I want to note is that your enemy car AI, if you bump them, they're going to get off track really easily. And so what I'm thinking about doing is I am going to go back at this point and adding those collider walls now that I feel like my track is really well set out. Because these trees, if they get bumped off, let's say you bump them into the trees, they have no chance of recovering. And you don't want to make it so that your enemy just instantly is not a worthy opponent. I would suggest doing that if you haven't done that. And then finally, I will think about trying to make a script so where the enemy goes backwards or tries to reverse and then finds its way back to the next point. That's what nav meshes are really good for, and that's not what we're using for this one. We're doing a simpler version of enemy AI that gives us flexibility. Let me do one more thing. Let's do one more small thing. I want to go ahead and fix the skybox. Why not do that before we log out? Yeah, what am I talking about? I'm going to go into the Unity Asset Store. And I don't recall if I made this purchase recently, or I think I bought it's a free Skybox thing. That's what it was. So I will give you the link to this. Oh, it's like people have been doing stuff here. All right, classic Skybox. I'm going to open this in Unity. Do the same thing. Import. So you might have to download first. I've already downloaded it because I've done it in another project. And I'll quickly talk to you about lighting. We did some of this last year, but I don't think I went super detailed. And even in this one, I'm not going to go crazy detailed in lighting at this point. Lighting is really important, but it deserves a lot more attention than what I'm going to be able to give it right now. So I'm going to go to Projects, go into a folder, and you should have downloaded just now a classic Skybox. I like to add stuff like this to my textures. I like to keep them separate as such. So now I have a classic Skybox folder. If you go up to Window at the top of your screen and Rendering, Lighting, I'm going to drag this into my inspector. My inspector is still locked, but that's fine. And we're not going to worry about this first page. I am going to click on Environment, and this is where your Skybox is held. If you double click, you have all your Skyboxes here, and then all the photos that are stitched together, the 6 photos that make up the Skybox, are in their own folders, but the actual Skybox themselves. And I think this one, I'm not seeing a good there it is, the preview. It basically goes from dawn to dusk, so different times of the day. So something like Sky 8 would be like the middle of the day. I would drag that into my default Skybox, and to have a different Skybox here. So what I wanted to point out is that you have lighting from your Skybox, or color and things like that. I would rather you keep this on Skybox. This affects the way the lighting is throughout your scene. You have 2 things that are affecting your lighting right now. You have your directional light, which is over here in your inspector. Sorry, your hierarchy, which we could rotate to get sort of different effects for the day, right? Longer, deeper shadows. You can play with that some. I wouldn't go crazy, right, on that, because lighting can be very taxing, but we still have lighting in the scene, so we can reduce the intensity that comes out of our Skybox. So the conjunction of those two, the way those two work together, give you your overall lighting effect. And we can just ramp up the Skybox lighting too, but then you start getting whitewash, so you don't really want that as well. You have some reflection stuff, but reflections are between materials. You can darken your scene some, but I think leaving that alone is the way to go. The last thing that can be very taxing for your computer is going to be your fog effect. You get fog, and you can tell that it requires some processing. You can kind of fog your scene a little bit. I would not really ramp up your intensity, because once again, it makes it difficult. Like 0.01 is already a little, pretty intense. So 0.001 is what I'm using. You have a halo strength. We can put textures in here to affect this, but you can add that to kind of hide some of the billboarding that your stuff might be doing, and it's a cool effect. But consider thinking about playing with your lighting a little bit, using your directional light in the inspector to also reduce its intensity, playing with its color, and playing with the way that your Skybox is working with that light to create a lighting effect. All right, now I think this video is done. I think we're good for this. Add in a Skybox. It looks better that way. And And between this video and the next video, I might even change my text, or we might do that next one. But let's fix some coding stuff for the next video.